Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna. This evening we are having a slightly different arrangement. Would like to welcome all of you to something we just started recently online called Pariprasnena Sevaya. We begin with a kirtan, followed by some few announcements. Then we will go to some short 5-minute reading after the kirtan on the subject matter of Varnasrama Dharma. Pariprasnena Sevaya is dealing with the topic of Varnasrama Dharma, which is, as many of you know, going to the questions, and last portion will be ending again with a short kirtan. We have changed the venue this evening by offering prayers, and I will explain why for this evening we're not having a kirtan. It is a let's see here. Yes. As of yesterday, there is actually a new message that is given by the chairman of the governing body commission, chairman of the GBC, His Holiness Ramai Swami, in regards to the COVID-19 or the coronavirus that is affecting all of our devotees, all of our temples all over the world. I recommend that devotees watch this video. I don't have the... actually, we have put it up on one of the WhatsApp groups that our ministry here in India has been organizing and promoting for the last at least 4 years. I would like to share and invite actually devotees to become members of this Global Varnasram Mission group, and anyone can just write to us, send us some information, any member of our ministry, and if you are on WhatsApp, we'll be happy to add your name to that group. In addition to this, it's about a 5-minute or 6-minute video from His Holiness Ramai Swami Maharaj. And there is also a new website that devotees should find of interest that has been started just either today or yesterday, just very recently, and that is an initiative of the GBC Strategic Planning Team. So their website address is as follows: www. And what follows, all in one word, GBC Strategic Planning Team.com. I had a quick look at it. It's still under construction, but already there are various links and various information that devotees will find useful. We also have here in India an app that we came out with 2 years back, 2018, called Sri Surabhi app, where various information related to the whole concept and topic of Varnasrama Dharma is also available. So anyone either you have Android phone or iOS, anyone can download this Sri Surabhi app. That's in 2 words, S-R-I, second word Surabhi, S-U-R-A-B-H-I. Please download the app. It's a free app, and we have devotees from at least some 30 countries around the world. On our Global Varnasrama Mission WhatsApp group, we have some 220 devotees, also from different parts of the world. So these are a few brief announcements. Every time we will, for as long as Krishna allows us, to make this presentation, there may be some slight changes technically how we will be doing this. I know that it is a major challenge for the whole world, actually, including devotees, this whole global epidemic that is ongoing. I would request devotees to follow directives that are being given in local temples, naturally directives that are being given by various governments around the world, and in this way see how we can take advantage of the situation in the sense of reaching out possibly a little differently than we are accustomed to. We normally go out on Harinam, we normally go out on book distribution. We are a very active society. We congregate physically through Namhata groups, etc., Bhakti Vriksha. Now we need to do that possibly a little bit differently, but actually the same goal and objective is there, how to bring this message of Krishna consciousness to people in general. I have a book somewhere which may come to me speaking about Varnasrama, and every session we will be reading a few maybe paragraphs, just a few minutes, 5 minutes, which can serve as inspirational talk, in that this particular book, which our ministry reprinted actually, just very recently, we reprinted some 3,000 copies actually, hardbound, specifically hardbound, for the purpose of giving an opportunity to as many devotees as possible to hear direct and specific instructions given by our founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada. I have mentioned this possibly in some class not too long ago, how every single ISKCON temple actually should have a copy of this book. Not because we have printed it, but because it is available actually online in the database. So the devotees who have the database can do a search regarding compilation, and you will find Varnasrama Dharma. The book has just appeared, but not in its hardbound copy. Tomorrow we'll have, but the same cover is there. This is the book speaking about Varnasrama, which was compiled quite some years back as a result of devotees, a group of devotees being commissioned actually by the GBC in the wake of the centennial of our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada in 1990. And this is actually the first one. Others have not yet come to print, although there is plan for that. So, since I have the book, I will I will just take a few minutes to read a section, actually from the very beginning of the book introduction, which has been written by Hare Krishna Dasi on the 29th of April 1999, so that's 21 years ago. And just one short paragraph. Varnasrama is meant to provide the framework in which people of all different personality types and at different phases of life can perform their work as an offering to the Lord. Some think that Varnasrama means a Brahmana studying scriptures, a Vaishya maintaining a shop, and a Shudra practicing carpentry. The Brahmachari attends classes, the Grihastha maintains a household, the Vanaprastha visits holy places, and the sannyasi lives simply in a hut and preaches. But Varnasrama is more than that. It is a system which guides the relationships between the different varnas and asramas, so that the different groups work cooperatively for the spiritual advancement of the whole society. Just because we have 4 varnas and 4 asramas does not mean we have Varnasrama. The key to Varnasrama is a relationship of mutual support between the different groups. We highly recommend that as soon as you avail of this book, or if you can access on the internet through the database, as we mentioned, temples can actually take 1 day a week and begin reading from the beginning, actually. So we will go immediately, since we've given more announcements than planned. Yesterday, you may recall, those who were with us, we were addressing a question presented by Sri Ram Prabhu from Hyderabad area here in India. And I had mentioned that, because it was at the end of the session and I wanted to mention a few other things, I'll just repeat the question and will not spend very much time, but mention a few additional points not mentioned yesterday. Question was, is it advisable to start the farm community directly, or is it advisable to connect a farm community to a temple? We see both the models. Can you kindly explain to us which is easy and better? Actually, there are 3 ways. 2 are mentioned here. Starting a community directly means a group of grihasthas generally decide to establish or make a community, which initially will be a kind of personal initiative, and at some particular point, some formal connection should be there, actually, with ISKCON society, generally a temple which is in the vicinity. The other model is that a temple takes the initiative, purchases land, and in this way manpower and finances come directly from the temple. On the long run, the easiest and more practical will be that establishing communities is actually, of course, promoted by an institution such as ISKCON. It is very much an essential part of establishing dharma, social structure, social society, based on the principles of Varna and Ashrama. But most villages will not be under, as we see it today, city temples. There will be a temple in that village. What was not mentioned yesterday, and just briefly touching on it, what is also possible is, because sometimes devotees ask, is it better to start independently or should we go to an existing village, which means an existing community? That's also a very viable option. For example, in Bengal especially, also Orissa and Assam, but mostly in Bengal, over the last 40 plus years, devotees have been very active in villages through the Namhata program. And as one brings more and more people, more and more families to Krishna consciousness, then that village becomes more favorable for actually establishing a Varnasrama-based community. So, just one last comment in that respect. I would say that a lot of confusion prevails today in that respect. Various initiatives have been taken, are even presently being taken by some grihastas in terms of wanting to invest in some land and start a community. We have yet to provide, we means ISKCON as a society has yet to provide a kind of guideline that will favor, facilitate, and support this kind of development. Why I mention this? Because on the long run, we need to keep in mind the fact that the model for a stable and sustainable community or communities is the traditional established system of village life. And village organization, Srila Prabhupada, as we know, speaks about village organization and quotes Gandhi in that respect as well. Srila Prabhupada praised Gandhi for his support, for his understanding and promotion of village organization. We need to understand that actually villages were governed and supervised and directed and supported actually by Kshatriyas, not directly by Brahmanas, although Brahmanas would give general direction. It is mentioned in the Shastra that whenever there was a need to establish a new village, because there are guidelines actually in the Shastra how big, how many families and how large a village can become before choosing another area to establish another village. And not as we have done in modern day society, where we have amalgamated or brought villages together and created cities, but very disorganized cities, where the concept of Vastu is totally unknown, actually, to the vast majority of people. So traditionally, the king, along with his ministers, would go. They would know, because there's a whole system of information in terms of knowing how many villages are there, population, etc. Census was being taken on a regular basis. Therefore, the king, along with ministers, would go to some particular area, new area, whereby they would assess the value of the land, the slanting of the land, what resources were available, whether there was sufficient water. So many criterias are there. A few years back, our ministry actually came out with a few PowerPoints specifying actually these different criterias. This is a subject matter that we don't discuss very much, and many of our devotees are very less familiar with. But we should know, especially in the context of what is happening around the world today with this urbanization being promoted, which is not actually the norm, at least not the Vedic norm, rather village organization or localization. Village organization is based on localization. And therefore, this new term that more and more people are speaking about, deglobalization. Deglobalization means, under the dangers, as we are, the hard way finding out, by simply promoting unlimited globalization. So these few comments are related to that question that Sri Ram Prabhu asked yesterday. We will go to another question, which is question number 5. And this is being sent actually by a devotee, Shivananda Prabhu. The question is, Maharaj, normally people say that means how many books he distributed or how many temples he has constructed or how many devotees he has cultivated. But if we come to the farms, it becomes very difficult to show something tangible. It becomes very much difficult to convince authorities that we did so much hard work to bring this farm up. Can you please let me know what is the success of a devotee in relation to a farm community? Very interesting question, important question, because in our urban centers, city temples, yes, the criteria is if one is a good collector, how many life members one can make every month, how many books one can distribute, how many new devotees, and like that. Before, I should mention, because Srila Prabhupada has given us this directive, that even within a village community, within villages, once a village is properly set up and organized, functioning, so Prabhupada instructed that some of the members in that village should actually be active in preaching by going in the 4 directions, north, south, east, and west. By bullock cart, Prabhupada mentioned specifically, by bullock cart we should go and fill that bullock cart with books and prasadam and preach, introduce Krishna consciousness in the surrounding villages. Once they take up to Krishna consciousness, they likewise also will go to surrounding villages, and this is one practical way down the line as we establish such communities. So another point, of course, is that the activities of those who are in a village, to a large extent, will be very different than one who is in a city. Another important point, which is related to this, Srila Prabhupada actually wanted that these cities around the world be places where we primarily preach by going out on Harinam, by distributing books, by distributing prasadam, etc. So cities are meant to be our preaching basis. But it is very clear and substantiated in many, many places and many conversations by His Divine Grace that the living basis for the majority of devotees, unless one is engaged in active front-line preaching in the city, our living basis actually should be in the country. And those, and mostly this will be householders. Householders will settle in villages and their primary activity will be in connection with land and cows and trade based on land production and production from cows as well, but not in a mercantile or commercial mentality as we see today with dairy. Nanda Prabhu, what is the success of a devotee in relation to a farm community? Well, the first success we could identify is the fact that if a devotee, under proper guidance and direction from authority, relocates in a farm community, he will help to fulfill a very cherished desire by our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, in that Prabhupada wanted that we establish such communities and re-establish the Vedic culture in terms of being primarily an agrarian-based culture or agrarian-based society. So that's the first. Anyone who follows the orders of Guru and Krishna must be considered to be successful because he will be pleasing the authorities. And naturally, primary business in a village is to properly utilize the land. So therefore, this is nicely described also in Srimad Bhagavatam. The wealth for a farmer, the wealth for someone in the village, is not so much in terms of paper money that he may have in the bank. Actually, traditionally, there was no such thing as paper money in the bank, and even there was no such thing as money, in that the real wealth was in how much of land and how much production one can generate actually from the land, and also how many animals, especially cows, one is maintaining. So this is the real success, how to properly utilize the natural gifts of nature given by Krishna so that they can produce based on our basic necessities of life. Not, again, as we see in modern day society, producing for the purpose of selling. And that's why traditionally, when majority of people were living in farms, this is something we find explained by grandfather Bhishmadev in the Mahabharata. Such things as land and cows were never meant to be sold. As we see today, even food is not meant to be sold. We sell, of course, prasadam. We have restaurants, Govinda restaurants, where we sell prasadam. That is authorized, but we should not primarily be growing food for the purpose, as modern day agriculture has developed to be, a commercial undertaking. We should be performing our duties and our activities ultimately for the pleasure and satisfaction of Krishna, keeping in mind that we should learn to be satisfied, the very basic, fundamental, essential principle in the Vedic culture, learning to be satisfied with the minimum, and focusing rather our primary attention towards self-realization. So most of us, most people in modern day society are much less knowledgeable about what is meant to be the standard in society. And unfortunately many of our own devotees as well. And just one last point on this also, many of our devotees do experience that it's not easy to make this kind of transition and spend months, possibly years. We should know that there is an initial transition needed because we don't have the kind of inbuilt mechanism, as I mentioned earlier, when the king, through his ministers, or along with his ministers, would look for some new land to establish a new village. They would arrange for water facilities. They would arrange for wells. They would make ponds. And that land would not be sold. That land would be given. Given means one could use that land and simply one would give a fixed percentage in terms of tax of whatever production one would have on a yearly basis. So we don't have this kind of support mechanism today, and therefore it is definitely a major challenge. It is not at all easy, but we should know that there is a need for making that kind of sacrifice, learning, for example, even before we make this kind of transition so that it can be easier, learning different skills, practicing how to make urban, what is it, the term, one of the many terms, urban farming, for example. One can do many things in the city before actually relocating. Another question that we will be looking at now, which is, there's some connection here also. This is being sent by Ananta Tirtha Prabhu, who is also connected with our ministry, ISKCON Daiva Varnasrama ministry here in India. And here is a question. When we request devotees to shift to farm communities, most of the devotees say that according to my Varna, we need to act, and my Varna is Vaishya, and hence I need to stay back in the city and do business, make money. Some others say that their Varna is Brahmana, and hence I need to do the temple worship as a pujari. Like this, they give reasons by quoting the Shastras. Can you please clarify this? The first point mentioned here is regarding some argument that some devotees give that we should stay back in the city to do business so that we can support the preaching in the city. There is, of course, our city temples need to be supported by congregation. At the same time, it should not be to the detriment, as we see today, of rural communities totally neglected and not being developed. What happens, well, we very well can see what happens, is happening right now actually. Many of our devotees who are in the cities and who normally support are now finding it much more difficult, and many of our temples as well, who are not connected with the farm community, where they can more easily get surplus or products rather, such as food or grains or milk. So there's a misunderstanding here, or an incomplete picture in terms of business. If we take the time to understand what are the standard concepts, Vedic concepts, in terms of business, in terms of commerce, in terms of economics. Actually, it's unfortunate, but many of our devotees and people in general, even more so, are unaware of the basic underlying Vedic principle of economic. There is a science that is called the science of economics, a Vedic science of economics, which is given in the Kautilya Arthashastra, whereby the definition of economics is given in one short sentence. Again, most of us don't know what is that definition of the Vedic science of economics. It is in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishi Goraksha Vanijam Vaishya Karma Swabhavajam. This, according to our acharyas, this, according to our Shastra, is the Vedic definition of sustainable economy. In the Vedic culture, we don't reject economy. We also don't reject technology. But we define technology, for example, as soft technology, as opposed to modern day technology, which is hard technology. And we define economy, sustainable economy, in relation to what the Vedic norm and the Vedic lifestyle is meant to be, centered on land and cows, and simultaneously cultivation of self-realization. These are actually the three gifts of nature that Grandfather Bhishmadev speaks about in the Mahabharata. And it's very interesting because these are the three gifts of nature that modern day society for the last so many decades, actually for the last over 100 years, since the days of the Industrial Revolution, has been systematically destroying, manipulating, and exploiting. So much so that we find ourselves in the situation that all of us are experiencing today. So we need to really understand and live as well. It's only when we understand some basic principles and concepts and are able to demonstrate or live according to these principles that we really understand them. So, inasmuch as there is a need, this is not to minimize the importance of supporting our city temples, which needs finance, which needs individuals to every month give financial support. But simultaneously, we should not create the kind of imbalance that is existing today, where we don't have simultaneously the natural development of what is meant to take place on a large scale in general society, which is actually reestablishing what the Vedic culture promotes, and advocates. After all, as Prabhupada mentions in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in various purports, one very nice purport at the end of the 8th canto of the Bhagavatam, I think the title of that chapter was Matsya, incarnation, speaking about different incarnations. In one of those purports, Srila Prabhupada speaks about, gives the example of Lord Krishna and Vrindavan village. That Vrindavan village is the ideal lifestyle that Krishna himself promoted when he descended on this planet 5,000 years ago. And this lifestyle actually has been, to a large extent, continued. If we look even a few decades ago, in most villages here in India, and even outside, one of my godbrothers had told me that 100 years ago, even in America, people were having cows, were having land. But because of this ongoing, unending passion for industrialization, forgetting the real goal and objective of life, we've created this kind of very dangerous imbalance, which is having all kinds of very serious negative repercussions all over the world. So this addresses the aspect of business. It is needed both in city and in the villages. And the question also from Ananta Tirtha Prabhu was mentioning about Brahmanas. Brahmanas, just briefly, again, a lot is based on misconceptions that we have. The question was relating that people give the argument, Brahmanas, we need Brahmanas for the altar, to do worship. How can you stop deity worship? Well, Brahmanas don't only do deity worship. Brahmana, we were talking about this just, I believe, yesterday or the day before. Actual definition of Brahmana is one who is knowledgeable and expert in various fields of knowledge and can teach generally in a Gurukul kind of setting. For example, we within our ISKCON society generally, mostly, identify Brahmanas as people who are connected with our temples. But in the Vedic culture, someone who is an architect, that is a profession of a Brahmana. And an architect will not be, unless he's building a temple or has been commissioned to give drawings and whatnot, plan, design to make a temple, he will not be living in the temple, he will not be exclusively, he'll be also be making designs for houses, etc. So the science of architecture, the science of Ayurveda, medicine, doctors, traditional, what we call Kaviraj in India, they are Brahmanas, isn't it? Astrologers, people who know about Vastu, which is of course connected with architecture. There are many occupations for Brahmanas which are needed not only in our city temples, obviously, and therefore every village traditionally in the Vedic culture would be guided actually by Brahmanas, you see. We have a very dangerous situation in India and around the world actually, and that is one of the reasons why our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness to create a class of Brahmanas, not only to be on the altar, but to learn these different arts and sciences and to teach them in society, to utilize them. So there are many such professions which are also necessary and very useful in a rural setting within a community. Anywhere where there are families, villages made up of families. So those families will have children for whom different samskaras need to be performed. These are done by brahmanas. Brahmanas need to give direction to those leaders in the village as well. Like this, there are many different occupations. So again, just to close on this point, many, if not most, of our devotees within ISKCON today are unaware of some of these basic fundamental Vedic sciences. They're mentioned, of course, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but they are not being studied on the whole. I'm not saying nobody's studying them, but on the whole, they are not being studied systematically. Largely because we have yet to develop that understanding of, Srila Prabhupada's vision of addressing and giving service to the whole of society with some specific goal and objective in mind also, part of which, a very major part of which, is to re-establish, that is one of the important statements that is always in my mind given by Srila Prabhupada, whereby he mentions one of the purposes of our Krishna consciousness movement is to bring a complete overhaul in society and to revert to the system of 4 ashramas, 4 varnas and 4 ashramas. First is varna, then ashrama, as Prabhupada would say. So Srila Prabhupada was very specific, very clear on this point. This is the long-term goal and objective. Of course, one will say, but Maharaj, the long-term objective is to become Krishna conscious. Of course. Of course. That is the primary goal and the long-term goal. But to facilitate this becoming Krishna consciousness, to facilitate all of us becoming Krishna consciousness, this God-given system of Varna and Ashrama needs to be established. And it can more easily, naturally be established within a village atmosphere. Not that it is exclusively only villages, cities are there also. Our devotees need to spend some time discussing and understanding more about some of the fundamentals about the subject matter. So these are the few questions that we can address today. We will try to take more questions tomorrow at this time. And once again, just to remind devotees, please avail of this book speaking about Varnasrama. It is exclusively quotes given by Srila Prabhupada. So it's 100%, directly from our founder Acharya. If anyone is wanting to be a member of this global Varnasrama mission group that has been established since quite a few years, kindly send somehow your WhatsApp number to us. You can contact any of our devotees here in India. Can visit our website possibly to get more details. We have 2 main websites. One is called www.srisurabhi, that's SRISURABHI srisurabhi.org. We also have a second website that is called www.iskonvarnasrama.com. You can kindly visit these websites, and you can write to us. Some email address and telephone numbers are there. We will be most happy to hear from you. Thank you all very much for participating, and special thanks to those devotees who have taken the time to write to us, and we're trying to address as many questions as possible. So everyone can kindly repeat after me. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Samasta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Gaur Pimanande, Hare Krishna.